I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we are turning to chapter 5 of book 9, which moves to the question of goodwill. So we're in fresh discussion of friendships, and now we're going to be addressing goodwill. So let's turn to the text right over there. So goodwill resembles something friendly. Goodwill resembles something friendly, but it is surely not friendship. So remember the virtue of goodwill. All the way in the virtues, we had the discussion of virtue of this concept we call goodwill, philia, in that sense. This is not friendship. It's something resembles goodwill, resembles friendly, something friendly, but it is not. But surely it's not friendship. For goodwill arises even in relation to those whom one does not know, and without their being aware of it, whereas friendship does not. So therefore, you can have goodwill to people you don't know, and people in general in that sense. But friendship requires a specific. There has to be somebody specific. Again, let's go. I would recommend people go look at the discussion of, where is that, back all the way back in book 4. Yeah, all the way back in book 4. And the discussion of friendship. Where is that? All my notes. Where is that? It's a long time ago, and my notes are already shut. I might have thrown those away already. That's it. Yep, I threw those away long ago. So, so let's go turn to it. Right, the goodwill arises even in relation to those who one does not know and without being aware of it, whereas friendship does not. These points too have been spoken of earlier. We talked about in chapter 4, right? When we talked about goodwill. But goodwill is not even friendly affection, because it is without intensity or longing. Things that accompany friendly affection. So in other words, friendly affection is what? It's intensity and longing. Goodwill is simply just goodwill. It's not. It's not intense. There's not an intensity or longing, without intensity and longing. A friendly affection has a level of intensity. It has a certain longing. It longs for that particular thing. It has affections for that particular thing. Goodwill is just goodwill. It doesn't really have these two things. And friendly affection goes together with the habit of living together. Whereas goodwill arises suddenly. For example, it even arises for competitors, since people come to have goodwill for competitors and share their intent, even though they would do nothing to assist them. Right? So therefore, goodwill is just in other words, you can be good. Friendly affection means I want to live with you. I want to share life with you. Goodwill, it goes together with the habits of living together, sharing things together. Goodwill arises, and it can arise even among competitors. In that sense, that you want to, in other words, as he says, that come to have good, even if it arises among competitors, since people come to have goodwill for competitors and share their intent, even though they will do nothing to help them. Okay, we're friends, we want to help, right? Assist them. For just as we said, people feel goodwill suddenly, and so feels only superficial affection. And so in other words, it's a superficial affection. Goodwill is in that sense. Goodwill seems, therefore, to be the beginning of friendship, just as the pleasant seeming from sight is the beginning of erotic love. Okay, this is the goodwill seems to this idea of this goodwill seems to be the beginning of friendship. Seems to be. It seems to be. Like what? The pleasure from seeing the beloved gives erotic love, right? Just as the pleasure seeming from sight is the beginning of love. For no one falls in love with whom is not pleased by someone's appearance. Though a person who delights in another's look does not, for all Yeah, it's true that one does not fall in love with who is not first pleased by the appearance, though a person who delights in another's look does not for all that fall in love. 11. The term fall in love is eran rather than philan. Means it seeks to, eran, right? Rather than philan, friend, to be friendly. This is to have desire for this. Um, Aristotle also uses here the term ida or eidos to designate the outward appearance or looks. Terms also have technical meanings in philosophy, so therefore this is a playing. Therefore, this is the looks appears. This is that, in other words, they're someone's form, their appearance, eidos, right? Um, and then the light, and then the looks of the other, the eidos, right? Um, uh, except whenever he also yearns for the person who is absent and desires his presence. So notice the his here, the front of his homoerotic, right? It's all up. But I think this is the nature of the Greek grammar. That is supposed, if you don't have, unless it's the default setting. There's no neutral they. They wouldn't do that. This is the question is this about? Well, this leads to a question of homosexuality desire. Okay, is Aristotle's example really about homosexuality because he's doing that? But the Greek, it's more problematic because the Greek would default to the male. The Greek constantly defaults to the male. Woo, male chauvinism. Yeah, okay, it's just the nature of the language. Okay, I'm sorry, the nature of Greek defaulted to the male, so therefore the example would always be a masculine example. Does it mean that he's speaking explicitly about the masculine example? Not necessarily. I mean, this case could be both, but the example falls to the masculine. So therefore, for those who wish to read the pure who takes it literally and then gives the homosexuality argument here, is doing violence to the Greek here. It's more complicated. It could be that, but it also could not be. It could be referring to the he may be general, but the relationship of a human being towards another human being, and that therefore it could be the male female as well as the male female. So we have to be careful here in that sense. Absent for them. And in this way, therefore, it is not possible for those without goodwill to become friends. But those who have goodwill do not for all that feel friendly affection. Now here the term is not eron, to love in the erotic sense, but feel on to love as a friend. So therefore they feel friendly. That's why he changes. Does not feel. In other words, the first example is erotic. Here is not erotic. He gives the erotic example, the look in the erotic design. But even that the look begins it's not sufficient for it. Yes, it starts it, but here it is that okay, you need without friendly affection. Um, um, it's not possible for those without goodwill to become friends, but those who have goodwill do not, for all that, feel friendly affection in that sense. They merely wish for good things for those who they feel goodwill towards, but would do nothing actively to assist them, nor would they even be troubled over them. In that sense, that this is that it's that there's not a sense that they feel that they would wish good things for them, but not necessarily going to have to do anything for them in that sense. And that they wouldn't even be troubled over them. Hence, by way of a metaphor, someone might claim that goodwill is friendship that lies idle, right? But if that goodwill is prolonged over time and carries over into habit of living together, it becomes friendship, though not a friendship based on what is useful or pleasant. For goodwill does not arise in these cases. Okay, so therefore, this is interesting. In other words, the question of the relations of usefulness and pleasantry, the pleasant goodwill does not rise in these cases. So therefore, as a metaphor, by way of a metaphor, one might claim that goodwill is friendship that lies idle. That friendship is this Goodwill is idle. It's not doing anything. So, but it's not. He says, but it's good was a requirement for it, but it's not it. It requires something active. Now he says, but if goodwill is prolonged over time and carries over into habit of living together, but again, that goodwill only means wishing good, not doing good. It requires not the habit is what the habit would require the transmission from the wishing for the wishing for good to the doing of good, right? That would require that. That's why the habit of doing good. Um, Prolonged over time into the habit of living, over the habit of living together, it becomes friendship. So not based on what is it becomes that because it's because goodwill does not arise from useful and pleasant, and does not good for goodwill does not arise in these cases of useful or pleasant. That's interesting in that sense. Um, but if you have goodwill from the competitor, why wouldn't you have goodwill from the person you're wanting to exchange pleasure for or utility for? It's okay. These don't produce French goodwill in that sense, that pure sense. But why? Okay, that's an interesting question. Um, for he who has received a benefaction renders goodwill in return for what he has received, thereby doing what is just. And he who wishes that another fare well, because he hopes to be taken care, he fair. Other words, he wishes that another fares well because he hopes to be taken care of by this person. Does not seem to have goodwill towards him, but rather towards himself. Right? Just as he who is also not a friend, if he attends to what the other person, he attends to that other person because that person is of some utility towards him. So wait a minute. So that in many ways that I'm doing, in other words, I'm using you. If I'm going to use you, I'm taking care of you. I'm paying attention to you because you have useful for me. This is is this really friendship, or are you using me? Is this utility aspect? This complicates the question of whether there can be friends based on utility. Okay, this is an interesting point here. This would suggest you rethink us the question, but what happens? Maybe we have to understand it differently. We have to understand the nuance here. So, just in other words, he is not just a friend if he intends to the other person because that person is of some utility. On the whole, goodwill arises on account of virtue and a certain decency. Whenever someone appears to another as noble or courageous, beautiful, noble, kalos, right, kalos, or courageous, or such thing, just as we said in the case of the competitor as well. It was something decent, something good in him, something noble, something beautiful, something like this. Then therefore you wish him well in that sense. But there is this idea goodwill arises on the account of this virtue and a certain decency to this aspect. So it's the question of something good or benefit. We wish goodwill to that sense. We see something to give goodwill to in that sense. This is how he ends the chapter on goodwill. It's a very short chapter. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below and I respond to them when I see them. If you like the video, please hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. Also, if you like the video, please share it on your social media or your different things. Share it far and wide. Again, this all helps the algorithm and for the site. Next thing you do is if you have not subscribed and you've been watching these things or coming here, if you come for the first time, please consider subscribing. Again, this helps to grow the channel, and the channel gets more attention, and the more attention, the growth will help brings us to the eyes of other people searching for things Like, I want to know Aristotle's ethics. And they'll come here. Yay! What else? Another thing is that if you didn't like it, you can always thumbs down. But please say why in the comments so people can learn. Now, if you want to follow me on social media, my social media links are below. If you want to know more about me as a scholar and as a researcher and see my research and scholarship stuff and things, you can go look at this material that's posted below. If you if you see, go to the social media links posted below. And if you want to help me to do what I do, I don't have a tip jar yet. I'm not big enough on the channel. Beg for food, beg, I mean, we'll teach philosophy for some money. Um, we don't have the tip jar, so if you want to help, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar. People say, well, you don't do things on Patreon. Why should we help you? I'm doing these videos. No, you can get it for free. Why should we help you? And why should we contribute, man? You're doing it anyways. Sucker. Okay, well, whatever. But there's a way you can do it. The links to Patreon and Subscribestar below. Another thing is, if you want to buy my books, you can buy one of my books. I have 3 books that are currently available. You can do so either at your local bookstore, go on there, or go online and order it through an online server like Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or you can go to the books publishers themselves. But my Warsaw publisher is going to have problems. They don't have the book. They'll sell you an e-copy, but they don't have the physical copy right now. I hope they'll do a reprint. But it's not like they give me any money for that. The only place that gives me money is Lulu. And next but not least is that's it. Have a good day. Next time we'll look at chapter 6. Okay, take care. Bye bye. So long.